Welcome everybody to the September 3rd, 2024 Cosmic Tower Q&A call. We're very excited to see you and to visit again with this amazing project. There's a lot going on. There are big towers on the way to Canada. They haven't left yet, but the process has been initiated to send two large towers to Canada. They got ordered within 24 hours. So it's a very exciting milestone to get some big towers there before the cold weather. We're really thankful for that. And there's a new container on its way. It's in the ocean on the ship right now, and it'll be arriving in Texas in a week from tomorrow. And I'll be going to Texas a week from right now. I'll be there, and I will be meeting with our new distribution facility and getting all those systems really tight so that we can have great shipments to you with awesome bubble wrap and things that go really well. So that's all going well, and while those milestones are moving forward, you guys continue to engage in deeper and deeper ways and teach us where we need to go. And I think we've talked with you guys fairly consistently over the last months about Nico working real hard on the science project to, bring this language down and these concepts down so we can understand it. And we're there now. So Nico has started recording the science series. And Nico, if you could, I'm going to post in the chat a link to the video we released last Friday. I'll get to that just a second. And Nico, if you could give just a little bit of a summary about what you've already put out and where you're going and the timeline for it, so people can know what to expect. I think that'd be a really great place to start. And then we always love to jump into your live questions. You're always welcome to ask, and we have some that have come in to ask, and we'll use those as well. So yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. Nico, let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this first video, because I get a lot of questions, about the science, and this first video is really an introduction on why mainstream science, as it's still being taught in schools, really cannot capture something like the cosmic tower, right? Or cannot explain it. And it's not just the cosmic tower, but there are many other phenomena. So I kind of go through the gaps in mainstream science in this first video, and coming from that background, that's how I learned. But they couldn't answer my basic questions of how things actually worked. And it wasn't really after that failed me in a sense that I started to do a lot of investigation for the last 2 decades or something. I've been researching this, and then I discovered that there's really a lot of other science out there and a lot of other scientists that have a more inclusive model, but it's just been suppressed by mainstream science, because mainstream science locks us in this box, right? And we only look at a very, very small spectrum of creation, and it tries to explain everything within that spectrum. Mainstream science keeps breaking things up in smaller and smaller and smaller parts, thinking it can then figure out the whole. And I think this goes with the times too, because we're in the apocalypse, and the apocalypse is not like the end of the world in the movies, but it's basically all these old structures that are enslaving us. They're crumbling, and we see it all around us, right? Governments, banks, religions, all these things that keep us limited and keep us trapped. They're really all falling apart now, and that's a necessary, process, because what's going to come out is the truth. And I think it's already been going on. I don't know if some of you heard Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. All this stuff's getting a lot of more mainstream, not mainstream, but a lot more attention now. And luckily with the internet, now we have those resources available. So if anything, I just want to open your mind to the bigger picture. and just take it from where mainstream science only looks and just expand it to all of creation. And we've always had this like dichotomy, religion and then science, or spirituality and science. But really, if you look at what I call the new science, which is the ancient science, right? There is no separation. They go hand in glove. So um, my hope is to bring that to you in a way that makes sense. You know, I've went pretty deep into this, and I just consider myself a researcher, but one of my beefs with mainstream science is it's all mathematics and complex terms, and uh, you know, for me that's like to hide that they don't really know the answer, but just really want to keep it away from the population and from regular people. And I always say, if you really understand how some things works, you should be able to explain it simply and to a child, how these things work. So that's my hope with this series. So the first one's really an introduction, and then I like using the model by Dr. Ibrahim Karim with biogeometry, who really expands it to where it still applies to the physical and the electromagnetic realm, but it also expands into the more subtle realms we all experience, right? The mental realm, the emotional realm, for a lot of us, like the spiritual realm. These are all real things to us, and we have those experiences. So science needs to include that. So after this first introduction, we'll really go into, like, you know, the ether, the universal energy and perceived reality versus the absolute reality. And we'll get into longitudinal compression waves, scalar waves, toroidal fields, all of that. And for me, the most important part, even though it's framed in the cosmic tower, I just want to open your mind to it, because there's a lot of answers lie there for those of you that want to know, that simply don't get answered in mainstream science. So if anything, hopefully I can pique your curiosity to learn more about that, because the future, for me, the future of our world is not in the way the man-made technologies are right now or in the limited science. It's really by expanding our view, we're going to find solutions um, for all the issues that we have. Actually, I know the solutions are already all there. They've just been suppressed, sorry, and you know, locked away. So all of that is going to unlock in the next months and years. I'm sure of that, because our consciousness is shifting. So
Yes,
yeah.
indeed. Well, we appreciate you leading that dialogue. And, one of the great frustrations for me is not only do they use like really advanced mathematics and complicated terms, but then there always seems to be some part of what they're trying to explain where they say, yeah, but this part's an exception to our mathematics and complicated terms. And so we're just going to throw that out into the exception bucket and leave it there because it's not really part of what matters. And so that just reeks for me of manipulation and agenda and crap. Like, so having a holistic view where things get simple, I think is really super important. And I think this is, not only one of the most important things we can do for understanding the Cosmic Tower project, but just for understanding life in general, is to advance ourselves to a more holistic view that doesn't have exceptions and things that can't be explained. But we keep evolving the theory so that we can explain it all. So great work, Nico. You're really knocking the cover off the ball with that one. So all right, let's jump into your questions, guys. And at any point that you have a question that you want to ask now, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and ask live. That's always fun for us. So the first one that we have that somebody said in earlier is, could we become less sensitive and benefit from positive effects? Hey, I'm just going to say a word about video. So we love seeing you on video. It's fantastic. And it looks like Elaine might be going for a walk in the woods or something right now. And it just catches the eye. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop Elaine's video right now. There's nothing wrong. It's just not quite as quiet. So just be aware of being on screen, and thank you for all of you that have your videos on. That's amazing. We love seeing you, and just, everybody's seeing you while they're in the Zoom. We see each other, and it's not that way in the recording, but it is that way. And so just know that you have an impact on the community. And if you have something going on, just turn your video off for a second. Okay, could we become less sensitive and benefit from positive effects for a long time after being exposed to the CT waves? Could we become more resistant to EMF and heal ourselves from this hypersensitivity condition? I'll just finish it all, Nico, and then if you need me to remind you of the second parts of the question. Did you have a result in EMF protection with the Mini or 135? Are 235s enveloping us better than 175 for EMF protection? So clearly an EMF sensitive person, as so many of us are becoming aware that we are, and an important topic that'll probably just keep coming up as the community grows. So yeah, Nico.
Yeah, I think everybody is sensitive to EMF. Just some people are more aware of it and are more impacted by it. So when you have a cosmic tower, I mean, it's all about your own protective field, right? So the cosmic tower can harmonize your environment, but then also helps you build up your energetic field again and your protection, and that includes EMF. Now, one of the things I do want to say is whatever you put your awareness on, you exchange energy with. So if you get all obsessed with 5G and all the EMF, and that's all you look at, and that is all you focus on, you're going to bring more of that energy in. While if you focus on your own source connection and your connection to power, you bring more of that energy in. So I would say, yeah, there is a mechanical aspect, as in a sense that the cosmic tower keeps building your energy and you have a stronger protective sheet. But then ultimately, I think what it is about, it's helping you to create an environment and assisting you to go deeper and deeper into your own source connection. And that is really where your ultimate, I'm not going to say, I mean, yeah, protection comes from, but also ultimately your ability to transmute the things around you. So when you get more and more into your source connection and you keep connecting there and you keep making that stronger and stronger, not only are you going to be, more protected from these man-made influences, but you're going to become like a walking you harmonize the environment around you, and that's ultimately where I see us going. I was talking about this earlier, like the cosmic towers or even our energy field and the energy of the earth, they're not static, right? They're constantly changing. So I think many of you know about the photon belt and how we get energy from the center of the galaxy. And I think in May we crossed beyond a certain point where we're constantly, receiving that energy. So what is going to happen is, and this is part of the cycles of consciousness. And if you look at the yugas as they call it, to where we are now coming, out of this age of darkness, and we're becoming more and more connected with our own source. So what is going to happen because of that is, like the consciousness on the planet is gonna rise. And that means the individual consciousness rises and vice versa. And we all are gonna have a, more harmonizing effect on the environment around you. But because of that, it also all our stuff comes up. I don't know for some of you, but the last couple of months have been interesting. And, we've been so, how should I say, indoctrinated to put our power outside of ourselves, to give it away to doctors, to politicians, to banks, whatever it is. Now is a time really to strengthen and to go within and strengthen our own connection. And yes, things that no longer serve, they come up, but that is because they are leaving, right? And sometimes people ask, is all that coming up now because of my cosmic tower? Well, it's going on in general on the planet also, both individually and collective. All these things that are no longer service, that we nicely tucked away so we wouldn't have to look at them and have to deal with them. Well, the fastest way to really improve your consciousness is to let go of everything that limits it. Right. So just know that all these things are coming up. And as you're working through these, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's an energetic blockage, whatever you let go of, the more of this source energy is flowing through your body and the stronger you become. So that's a long answer to like, yeah, I do think with the cosmic tower, you can actually get to a state to where you become less and less electrosensitive, but especially by strengthening your own connection and building that energy and going within and letting go of what no longer serves you.
That's great. And always, going within is such a interesting topic because we know this concept that all the answers are within and we want to, and yet we're, in our own ways for doing it. And so having a community to embody this and share it and show us is helpful. And I don't think there can ever be enough of this topic. And eventually, when we really claim all of our power on it, I think that we won't have tools like cosmic towers or structured water devices or lots and lots and lots of other things. Like life will look really different. So it's neat to be part of the evolution and to be supporting one another to keep going within. Okay, next question. I want to experiment bathing in structured water. Did you evaluate the structure of water before and after cosmic tower radiating scalar energy through water?
Yeah, you can go, I think, on our website or the cosmictower.com. There is actually, they did this in Holland. And what they did is they took samples of tap water from 3 different locations. And then they send it to the lab that takes a picture. Kind of, most of you are familiar with Masaru Emoto, where he looks at the shape of the water crystal, right, to show the vitality. Not only that, but also the effect of our consciousness on the water structure. This is something similar, just not that high magnification. So what they look from a higher level at the structures of the water, and what they see is when they get nice fern structures, it implies that it's vital water. So what was done is, like, these 3 samples were sent, and then pictures were taken, and then they took other samples from the same 3 locations and exposed them to various cosmic towers. And then they took pictures of that water. And then you can see a big difference to where after it was exposed to the cosmic towers, you see these beautiful fern structures that indicate that the water was vital. So it had life force in it. And the person that did it actually was amazed because she had been doing it for over 15 years. And she could actually see, and you can see it on the picture, after it was exposed to the cosmic tower, you can actually see like the rainbow hues coming off the water. So that's something she noted that was really cool.
What size cosmic tower can structure a liter or a 200-liter water reservoir?
Yeah, it was, again, this quantitative thinking. So basically all cosmic towers will do that, right? The toroidal field will cut up the water structures and will infuse it with the information that's in the healing water, right? Right, like all the beneficial properties. But it's just from my experience that the bigger the tower is, the quicker it comes to like an optimal state. But any model will do the structuring of the water. I would just say that it goes faster.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about a liter or 200 liters, we're talking about a very small amount of water compared to the torus field of a cosmic tower. So, and any one of them would be enough for that. Um, I would appreciate if Nico could help me understand why it's necessary, important for energy practitioners to be grounded when working with higher frequency energies. I trained at the Brennan School, and Barbara always emphasized the importance of grounding.
Yeah, grounding is about being here and now, right? First of all, if we're in our minds, we're not here. Right? Our access point to source, or our access point to where our power comes from, is always in the here and now. And grounding helps with that. Also, we are a part of the earth, right? And we're the beings that connect the heavens with the earth. So when we have that connection, then really energy is flowing through all parts of our being. And it's very important, especially for healers. I mean, which tree would you rather stand next to when there's a storm out there? The one that has really deep roots into the earth, or the one that barely has any roots, right? So the same is for us. Like when we're grounded and we're connected to the earth of which we are a part, uh, we're much more capable of dealing with anything that's going on in our environment, right? That's why it's important. And also, as you know, we have acupressure points on our feet. I mean, I think as human beings, we're really meant to walk barefooted in an ideal environment and have that connection with the earth, because it's an integral part of our energy system. So that's why I think grounding is important.
Great. On the topic of grounding, do you have any preferred grounding techniques that you can share?
Well, see, there's different ways. I mean, if you have access to it and you can go out in nature, of course, that's best, and put your bare feet on the earth. I think in a previous call we did, I think Theo actually talked about some salt water bath and putting your feet in there. Going into the ocean is great, but if you're working inside and you are a healer, you can also energetically make that connection to the center of the earth. Right. I mean, remember, wherever your awareness, whatever you focus on, you connect with, and energy flows and information flows with it. So, through your own connection and with your own intention, you can make that connection to the earth. But really, for me, it's about being in your body, because a lot of us, we just really live here, and we're in our thoughts all day long. And yeah, then you miss so much, and you're only in a very small percentage, if not at all, connected to your own power, right? So be in your body.
Um, I'll jump in there for a little bit. So, the grounding mats are really popular these days, and those plug in and use electricity. I'm not a fan of grounding in any way with anything that plugs in. Um, you want to say something about that, Nico?
Yeah, it's not like they use electricity, but you connect them to the ground in your outlet, which is grounded to the earth. But the issue with that, it's also exposed to the electrical fields that are around it. So it's not an ideal way. And then also, if you're in a very urban or a city environment, a lot of the man-made electricity, there's also currents under the ground,
I gotcha.
right?
Maybe I had the wrong term and the wrong mat, but there's these. I thought they were called grounding mats, but maybe it's the earthing products where they have like amethyst on them and you plug them in and they warm, and that's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
And then you also, Nico, you have shoes that you like to use for grounding. That might be something people want to hear about. Are they earth runners?
Yeah, I have the Earth Runners, and I like them for different reasons, because yeah, they ground, but the other thing is that It allows your toes to spread out. We're really not meant to walk in shoes where our toes are all squeezed together and bunched up, and then a big rubber sole under it, which is the perfect insulator from the earth. So I really like the yeah, the barefoot type shoes, also because when you walk through the environment, like your acupressure points, they're stimulated on the bottom of your feet. That's another thing they did. And then just I started walking differently, and I noticed that my back started to realign and all that when my toes could spread out again. And so yeah, I think we're meant to walk barefooted, and that's our design. So the closer we can get to that, the better.
Here, we've got a couple of questions in the chat that are back to this water structuring thing. So the first is, you said any tower will structure water. Does that include the mini? And
Yes.
then, yeah. Um, and then, is there any information available as to how long it would take to structure, for example, a gallon of water with the CT75 after filling it from the faucet in a residential home?
No, we don't. I know there's some videos where Theo talked, who played around with that and who tested it. But know that when it comes out of the faucet, it immediately gets a like structuring. But then he noticed that if he let it sit out there, and I think we talked about this in the last Q&A, that actually more of the beneficial qualities of the water in the cosmic towers actually impregnate into your water.
And my sense is that it's immediate and that it just continues to build.
Mm-hmm.
Do these
Yeah,
earthing
and for a lot of these questions, like how long, how far, like all the quantitative, like it's not just something we can answer like this is how it is everywhere. A lot depends on your environment. A lot of depends on what the quality of your water. Every environment is unique, right? And this is a dynamic, a dynamic tool. So it's all going to depend. I mean, if you live in LA or you live in New York City and you take tap water there and you're being bombarded by EMFs, or you live out in North Carolina in the mountains and you have beautiful well water that comes up from aquifers deep in the mountains, very different thing, right?
Right on. A little more follow-up on the earthing shoes. Do they work inside or is it for outside only?
I mean, you can use them anywhere, but the earthing is really for when you're outside walking on grass or on the ground. I don't necessarily wear them in cities. It's just when I'm out in nature, like in Maui, or I'm there to really allow me to walk and not hurt myself like too much, but still have some kind of like shoe wear, but being as close to barefooted as I can be.
Yeah, maybe we talk about it this way. The shoe itself is like a pass-through. So the idea is when you're walking on the earth, you pass through the energetics of the earth into the bottom of your foot. So if you're wearing the shoe inside, you don't have that. So you're walking on a bamboo floor or concrete or whatever it is that we have in our inside environment. So that's not the generating of the energy that we're talking about. It's from being outside. And these shoes just don't get in the way. They don't have a rubber barrier. They pass the energy through. Is that fair way to say it, Nico?
They do have a rubber barrier, but then they have a grounding plug that's made of copper, and then like the laces that go around your feet, they're conductive. So actually the energy comes in that way. And I'll tell you specifically for the earth runners, this is what the Central American tribe, Tarahumara, I forget the name of it, but they run for very great distances. That's what they used as a shoe. And I can tell you the first couple of days is the most uncomfortable shoes you'll ever wear. It's annoying with that strap between your toes, but everybody gave that feedback. So I knew that was coming, but once you're used to it, I just love wearing them, and I cannot get my feet into a gym shoe. Forget it.
Nice. All right, Zane's back. This question about the 4-meter tower in Holland. He's persistent.
I
So
know I'm gonna have to start contacting Yvonne before every uh US before every Q&A we have. But the last we heard from her that the field, the energy field was still building up, and it takes a long time for those towers. And it's not so much about the tower really, but it's because they're so powerful to go easy on the people and the environment around it, so it's not that those sudden changes.
and he wants to know if there are going to be more of these. Zane, we're doing our best to like stabilize the models and the project, and that includes on the container that's arriving next week that we're bringing in Cosmic Tower 250s, and so a few of those have already been ordered and they're going out, and there will be some on hand for a while, which is great. The 4 meters is a whole nother set of shipping logistics. And then it's not just getting it here, it's getting it into the world, standing up safely. And at 4 meters, you've crossed the threshold of a couple of guys saying, hey, come on, let's pick this thing up. And you've moved into mechanical. It's really big and heavy. So I would say we're just not there yet. But in terms of whether a tower itself can be made and shipped, yes, that's available. Finding the resources. If we had somebody who is we have been seeing more benefactors of the project, people who are really acting way beyond themselves to serve the environment and serve people they love. And if we had somebody like that who said, I don't care what the cost is, I just want to have a 440 in the United States, we could figure it out. Right, Nico?
Yeah, well, they weigh 1 ton, and then you need a crane. You need to find a home that's big enough to put them in, and then you need a crane to lower them into the home. It's an undertaking for sure.
All right. Is there any testimonies on the Cosmic Tower's help with accident-caused epilepsy?
Not necessarily accident caused epilepsy, but I do recall from some people whose children suffered from epilepsy that we're doing a lot better, with the Cosmic Tower. And I don't know exactly how the mechanics of all of that. I think a lot of what might cause epilepsy attacks are maybe unnatural vibrations that are in our environment and that trigger that. I think the most important part to always come back to is that the Cosmic Tower provides a natural harmonizing field like you would experience in nature. And then healing, our body knows how to heal itself. It's just a matter by providing the external and the internal environment where it can really thrive and do what's already in the blueprint of the body.
Great, guys. Barbara has shared that she has had positive experience with grounding mats for years, and she'd be happy to talk about it a bit more. If anybody wants to keep going on the grounding mat conversation and go deeper in that, you can just message her directly and get contact information and continue that. So Barbara, thanks for that nice offer. Sometimes we express preferences in these calls for things that we think are better than other things. But if you take the concept of a grounding mat that's plugged in, let's say if that were the thing, I'd rather somebody was focusing on a grounding mat that's plugged in and is part of the healing arts kind of industry than a whole lot of other things we could be putting our attention on in life. So at the Wellness Enterprise, we tend to stand for what's the most natural version of things, and we tend to avoid electricity. So it's a pretty consistent preference that I will share. But that doesn't mean that some people don't get benefits from those type of things. And we're thankful for everything that gives somebody a benefit. Like we're looking to bring awareness and consciousness. And if somebody gets better from something, better is better. That's what one of my early teachers said is better is better. When somebody would say, well, why aren't I getting the results I want? Well, do you feel better? Yeah, better is better. You're on your way. That's how we get there, is we stack betters. So yay to grounding mats, yay to earthing shoes, yay to everything that makes us a little bit more aware and a little bit more conscious of all of this. Okay, I'm assuming from your website that I should order the 75, but I'd be interested in hearing if there are any reasons I should order the 220 or 250. I'm assuming the large towers are for businesses, governments, cities, etc. I live in a 3,200 square foot house in the mountains with 2 floors. Would the unit cover the entire house? Any of the outside area? Is there an ideal placement point?
Yeah, so I'll break that up in a couple sections. So as far as what tower to choose and the size of it, so the 35 and the 75 are more for your family and your home, while the 220 and the 250 are really to help the environment. But of course, you get benefits from it too, because there's a very powerful field that's emanating from your home. And it's actually, most people that got 220s and 250s are individuals like myself that also want to help the environment, that recognize that, hey, we cannot just buy solutions to protect ourselves and see ourselves separate of the environment. If the environment doesn't thrive, we don't thrive. I'm going to keep coming back to that. So for those that really want to help the environment and all living organisms around that and planet Earth, that's really those that are called 220 and a 250. And the great majority of those are in individuals' homes. So it's not like they're in a business or in a companies. There are places that we have those, but a great majority of people are people that care about the environment and want a solution beyond themselves. Then what size should you get? Harl always used to say, like, if there's like no large towers around that support the smaller towers, a 35 is good. If you live in a village or in a small town, but go for the 75 if you live in a city. Then when there's a big tower around, those support the smaller towers because they take away a lot of the load that a smaller tower would have to deal with. And the more bigger towers are in your area, the better, of course, because the environment is being addressed. And I think the other question was about the location, right? Where to put it. Well, there's a few different ways to go about that, depending on where you're at. And I kind of like Yvonne's answer in Holland. If it's a smaller tower, like a 35 or a 75, just open your heart, ask, where do you want to be in the home? And just let your feet guide you, right? And tune in and let the tower tell you. Some people might not be comfortable with that, so we kind of come up with some recommendations to find a good spot for it. For those of you that are biogeometry students and that know how to measure power spots, find a place in your home where you already have a lot of BG3 or natural or harmonious energy, or find a little micro spot. And that's what I do. And they can actually put it on a spot that already has a natural centering vibration to it. So that's, would be like an ideal location. And then on the website, we have guidelines for those that, don't feel comfortable with feeling it or don't know how to measure. And those are just some guidelines to give the tower a few feet of room, so don't put it on your fridge. Don't put your Wi-Fi router on top of it. So give it some room to breathe. But also, there's talk in there about outlets. I don't think it's that big a deal if the outlet, is not used, but you don't have to be like a perfectionist about it. Find a place that works, and don't see it as a checklist, like it cannot have this, and this. And then, like ideally not in a direct line of a mirror. And we've talked about that because mirrors, they bounce the energy around and kind of cause a wobble, and then they invert the image. So you can find those guidelines on the product page, but ideally just let yourself be guided. Open your heart and connect with your tower and feel where it wants to be.
It's fine to move your tower around the house. Put it on a table over here, put it on something taller over there, try it in this room, try it in that room. It's really cool, and then you walk out of the room, you walk into the room, you do that for a couple of days, and you start to notice and you develop a sensitivity. So I've lived in a lot of environments since this project started, and I've had a lot of towers in a lot of different locations, and it's pretty fun. Okay, so I'm in the chat here, Nico. I have a 75. Recommendation is for it to stand ideally at heart height. Heart height, is that height at the top of my CT75 or at the blue glass spheres?
Again, that's just a personal preference that I've mentioned before. And if you take the center of it, which is like the center of its toroidal field, and then you take the center of your own toroidal field, which is in the heart area. I like to have them to where they're both in alignment, but that's not a must. But again, I would say what works well for me and might not be the best for another. So play with it. Put it at different heights. See what feels best for you. Just for the 35 and the 75, just make sure they're at least, a foot off the floor and not sitting on the ground. So put it somewhere that it's lifted off the floor.
And what about the effect on a tower of being near a TV, or being right near it or within audio distance of it, hearing the TV?
That's okay. I just wouldn't put it like right next to your TV. It's not like the tower is not gonna work, right? But it's just gonna have an easier time building its field and breathing if it's not directly next to a major source of distortion of man-made energy.
Ed has a Wi-Fi router and a mirrored slider in his space, and this is his space. Like that's what he's got to work with. So Ed, I don't know if you were here when we talked about the Vesica Institute is it L90 or L60, Nico?
L90.
L90. They're just little $9 tools that you can put on a mirror to harmonize that. I'll see if I can go dig that link back up and put it in the chat for you. That's a great way to address the mirror. And then, just pick your most harmonious spot. Like, obviously, if you have a Wi-Fi router and you have like a single room, like it's going to be in the same space. And so,
yeah, just keep it 2 feet away. I mean,
just don't put them next to each other. Okay, I think we're caught up in the chat. I think I read somewhere I should start with the tower in my living room, not my bedroom. Should I eventually move it to my bedroom? After how long? Next to a walk or an open space away from the sun? Or does that not matter? We're definitely getting into placement dialogues today. It's good.
Well, like the comment about like the bedroom was really, for people just adjusting to the energy. Right, maybe it gives you a lot of energy and you don't want to just put it on your nightstand right away. I like having my tower, my 35 in the room, and it was like that from day one, and it didn't bother me. If anything, I slept better. But also know if it's like in your living room, like the field goes through the walls and it's powerful enough for you to get the benefits. So It doesn't, you know, have to be in your bedroom while you're sleeping. But that was more just about, I think Harold used to mention that, just about adjusting to the energies. But for a lot of people, it's not an issue. You could do that right away, but just know if it's in your home, in a good place, you're in its field, and receive you will receive the benefits. And then yeah, have it in a room where there's some natural sunlight uh coming in. And again, these are not like hard requirements. Like if you mess one of these up, your tower isn't going to work, but these are just recommendations, right? To find the most harmonious place in your home to have this, you know, tower that's going to create more harmony, right? It's like when you're meditating, for example, do you just want to go sit on top of the Wi-Fi router with the TV like right in front of your nose, or would you rather be, you know, in a quieter spot, you know, where you have more space, right?
That's awesome. Hey, Mike T just came up with a link that's better than the link I posted. He's got L90 stickers in stock from the biogeometry shop. That's a big help, Mike. Thank you. I've been
Yeah.
waiting for them to notify me that they're in stock for months. So they're not always the best at Vesica with having everything in stock and keeping their shop totally clean.
Well, I
So
know a lot of their stuff comes from Egypt, and having spent a lot of time in Egypt, I know it can be a difficult place to mail from and to. So, and they're
when
also in Egyptian time.
when I couldn't find the L90s in stock from Vesica, I tried ordering some stickers from a company that was imitating them, and Nico was here when they arrived, and we just threw them away. Like they were just junk. So L90 from Vesica Institute is what we've used with success, and if you want that, that's a good way to go. Paula asked about covering the mirror with a sheet while she sleeps. Sure, why not?
I do that.
Yep. Okay.
When I was in Patter's home in Maui, there was freaking mirrors everywhere. There
That's
were
the
two, there was two in the bedroom, like one on the wall. So I covered that with a sheet, and the other one I like turned around. And it's more like if you sleep like in a direct line of it. So when you're laying in your bed and you see your image in it, right? Imagine what a mirror does. So your body like gives off energy. What does a mirror does? It bounces it back at you, and then you see left is right and right is left. So the image gets inverted, right? But also in a hotel, like they're like there's obviously mirrors. I always have the when I travel with my Cosmic Tower with my 35, I have this dolphin like blanket that I like put it in to protect it when it goes in my suitcase. And I usually first thing I do is like just put that over the mirror.
perfect. Okay, last question that we have pre-written in. So you guys, if you want more, it's time to raise your hands or type them in the chat, which you're doing beautifully. How beneficial are the travel units? For example, if I go to Florida or Tennessee, how would a travel unit benefit me? Does flying with the travel unit damage it or overwhelm it? Nico, you can answer that in a second. And I'm just reminded of Dr. Ann Merkel's story about that because she spent several years not traveling. And then she got towers of the various sizes. I think she traveled with 35s and 75s, not the minis. She kind of went big when she started on the project, and she was able to take multiple 500 and 600 mile trips to go tend to some really important family business that came up right after she got her towers, and she was able to function in the world for the first time in years. So Anne's a part of our community, and she's very energy sensitive, and appreciate that part of it. But what do you have to add for the mini units, particularly? So in finishing that up, the 35 and 75s are also travel units, right? I used to travel. I put a little yoga bolster in the floor of the back seat of my car, and then I would put a 75 on it, and then I use the strap from my bathrobe to affix the 75 to my headrest, and we'd go rolling down the road on a yoga bolster and with a bathrobe strap. So that you can, if you want a 75 to be a travel unit, it can be. If you want a 35 to be a travel unit, and obviously the minis are small and simple, and that's the direct part of this question. So I'll turn that over to you now, Nico.
Yeah, the minis were designed to travel, but remember, the mini is really only just for protection, to make sure that your energy field doesn't degrade when you go out of the field of your larger tower, right? So, and yeah, it's not like it's negatively affected through air travel. Sorry, got some dogs here. Uh, so the mini is small enough to where you can take it in your carry-on on the plane, which I've done a bunch of times, so you can just have it with you, and it's not like it's going to be overwhelmed and that it's not going to function anymore. Really, the way to look at that is that the cosmic tower, when it's an environment where there's a lot of radiation, a lot of detrimental energies, it's like its field can shrink in a way. It's not like it's gonna harm its field, but it might not be able to reach as far as it usually can. I love traveling with the 35, which is pretty simple because if it's not that big, and if you have a hard shell suitcase, I have a little backpack that mine goes in because I like to take it to temples and out in nature and stuff. So I wrap it in this dolphin blanket. It goes in the backpack. And then what I do is I pack all of my clothes around it so that the cosmic tower really sits in the middle of the suitcase. Because air travel, I mean, there's two main things you got to think about, which is direct impact that could hurt the tower, and then shocks, of course. So you want to make sure that you have that hard shell suitcase to protect from any direct impact. And then also, you know how rough they are with luggage sometimes and how it slides all onto all, oh, let me mute this person, onto all these belts and stuff. So when my clothes are around it, it just has a cushioning that if the suitcase falls off, it doesn't get a hard shock. It gets softened. The 75 is a bit more difficult because it is bigger and it's heavier. So for that, I had to buy a special case that is used for like moving a photography equipment. But in the car, as you were saying, yeah, I used to strap my 75 in the back to wrap it in a blanket and then use the seat belt to have it sit upright in the
Sure.
back seat.
Yeah,
And for people,
I've had a 35 in the front seat with the seatbelt on.
yeah, the 35, what you can also do that I've seen from people in Europe, that was a good idea. They would actually have it in a bag with padding, so it was up, and then they would put it on like the headrest, and it would hang behind the driver or the passenger seat, so it'd be upright, and you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it like falling over. So I thought that was a really good idea.
So you're talking about like hanging a bag off the back of your driver's seat into the back behind you?
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
have the headrest and the
Yeah.
strap of the bag goes around that, and then the tower is hanging
Yeah.
behind yours or the passenger seat. So if you choose the right bag, it's upright. And then also, as the car is moving, you don't have to worry about it falling over and stuff. It's always going to be vertical.
Yeah, I've done that with a gallon of water too. I used to, structure water at home and then take it and I just throw it in a bag back there. Keep it off the ground. It can't roll around. Ron's typed his questions in again that we've already addressed. Ron, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. If maybe you want to unmute and talk, or whether I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but I think we've caught up with all the questions and answered everything. So
I
where
think
are
Zane has a question. He looks like he's.
Oh yeah, Zane's always easy to see. Go ahead, unmute yourself, Zane.
I just want to add, when I travel with my CT-75, I have it's a Honda CRV, and it has a bucket seats. And so I have this beautiful space in between, and I tuck it in, and the bucket seats kind of stabilize it. It just nestles right in there beautifully. It works real well. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Where there's a will, there's a way. You know, it's definitely possible. All of them, 75, 35 Mini, can go on the road if that's where your energy and intention's at. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? Yes, we have a hand from Barbara. Hi, Barbara.
Hi there. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sending the Mini while I'm waiting for the 35, because I've been having such fun playing with it. When I unpacked it, I spent a few minutes with it, and I do have structured water, and I wondered, well, what'll it do? So I had my glass, I put it like right in front of it, waited just like maybe 2 minutes, and I drank it, and it tasted like sparkling water without the bubbles. It was just amazing. So I thought, man, this is tiny, but she's powerful. So my husband couldn't taste the difference. So like you were saying before, both of you, that it's a very personal thing and it's different. Then I started traveling in cars is not easy for me because I get ungrounded, very ungrounded quickly. So I figured, okay, let me take it with me. So I put it in my purse, and I was aware of things looked clearer. I mean, I had my eyes on the road, but I could say, oh man, those clouds and the trees. I mean, it's just clear. So in other words, it cleared my field. And then I've always had a hard time in grocery stores, because there's so much stuff going on in each aisle, just electric, other people's cell phones, and not such a problem anymore. And I don't get as tired. I don't have to take a nap, a 10-minute nap when I get home. So I don't know about the 35, but the Mini sure is great.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for your patience as we get 35s to you. And we always ship the towers out that we have as soon as possible. And we've done a really good job of not being out of stock. We are back ordered on 35s right now. And the container is due into port on September 11th. And so we're close. Last time it did take 5 or 6 days to get from Houston to the final location. Hopefully it'll be faster this time. And then there's, quite a few orders of 250s and other crates that are going to go. So it might take a couple more days, but if you guys can just give us a little patience, I promise we'll fill your orders as fast as we can. And if we have part of your order, we'll ship it out right away. And Barbara, I'm so happy for those experiences that you're having. It sounds like it's a really great support for you, and how wonderful you get this on ramp, right? You get the small one, and then you get a bigger, and we'll get to learn from you. So please come back and share your experience some more. Okay, anybody else?
I do want to answer Ron's question that he put in the chat. So if the CT75 is negatively affected when it hears the sounds from a large screen TV within hearing distance, it's not like the function of the tower is going to be like negatively impacted, right? But you have these audible sound waves, and when it's news or a lot of things on TV, we all know that those are not beneficial things that are coming out of the TVs. But then that also causes ripples through all the mental, emotional, and all the other layers. I'll be going into more about this in the science series. So the cosmic tower is obviously not going to harmonize the sound that you can hear, but like the negative information that's carried on that sound wave, it's going to harmonize, but you don't have to worry that it would negatively impact your tower. And then again, like how long does it take to structure, like play with it? There's an immediate effect. And then as Barbara also was just saying, by taking a glass and putting it by the mini. After a few minutes, she noticed an improvement in the water. So play with it, and put it there for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and see what you notice as a difference. DC has a question here. Will the mini work well enough without a 35 or a 75? I don't know if you mean just getting a mini instead of a 35 or a 75. So if you would, okay. Yeah, we really do not recommend that, because the mini is not powerful enough to give you all the benefits that you would get from a 35 and a 75. Remember, what determines the power of a cosmic tower is really determined about how much water is in it, and then how far these vessels are spread apart. Like the further apart they are, the bigger the field is going to be. So obviously, to make something that is portable and that you can take in your purse or in a bag and take it anywhere with you, we have obvious limitations as far as like how much water go in it and how far can we spread the vessels apart. So the mini was really developed to protect you when you're outside of the field of your larger tower, so your energy field doesn't degrade, and then you come back and then you got to build it back up. So you have this process of 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. So it's really about taking the mini with you so you don't degrade, and your 35 or 75 can help you to keep building your energy field. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Anybody else?
I still have one thing, Patter. I updated the map with all the big towers.
Super cool. It's always fun to see the map. Let's you gonna do a screen share on it?
Yep.
Awesome. I haven't seen it yet with the Canadian tower, so I would imagine that's part of what you're revealing. And
Yeah. And this time we don't have it just as like a polygon, but it shows you approximate location. I thought it would be cool to share this map. So if you look at the red circles, these are towers that have been ordered, but they just have not been installed yet. And everything that's blue, and then that blue greenish color, the blue circles are 220s, and then the bigger green blue, I don't know what you call that color, they're 250s. So not only can you see what has been covered, but you can see which locations have more than one big tower.
that's great. Nico,
So
there's a 250 on the way to Mississippi. So
okie dokie.
yeah, so we can add that on there too. And did you change the circles up in the upper left? So you guys, Dr. Klinghardt, teacher Klinghardt, got his 220 tower, and did you make that adjustment too?
Yes, I did. That's why where before this was all covered, but now it moved from Longview to Seattle. So we
Yeah.
have a bit of a gap here. But yes, the Dr. Klinghardt Tower is in here.
Yeah, awesome. It's interesting. I meant to say something earlier. Like, we talked about the most of the 220s and 250s are going into individual homes, and the places where they're going into businesses tend to be these doctors, which is really cool. Dietrich Klinghardt has one now, and Dr. Ed Group has one over in the Phoenix area, Scottsdale, Arizona. So I am I'm doing a little sub project with people who are really interested in working with humanity and being benefactors of our species. And a lot of that action that I'm aware of is going through large towers. And so I have a little small group that I've started meeting with who are very heart-centered and very interested in that. So if you've been finding that you're called to make a difference for the species and you want to be in a dialogue about that, feel free to send me an email at support@thewellnessenterprise.com or contact me directly in whichever way you know to do that. And we'll talk about the fit of inviting you into that little group. But yeah, Nico, thanks for sharing that map. As you guys can see, we're really getting North America covered. It's extraordinary with, you know, the 2 towers that are going to Canada are going to Toronto and Montreal. And so that captures a huge portion of the population by going into those highly dense areas. And it layers really well on our New York and other East Coast tower locations. So it's really beautiful the way the map is building out. And I don't know what's going to happen in the Dakotas and Wyoming and up in that area, but we're starting to see that that's an opportunity, and you know, one of the last big spots to fill in. So maybe those people will be called to us now. We'll see what happens. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, well, I guess it's a wrap. Nico's going to be recording some more of those science videos, and we'll put one out every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern time on YouTube. And just so you guys know, the way the YouTube algorithms work is when you like and comment on videos, it's called engagement. And when YouTube sees people engaging on videos, then they show it to more people. And so if you have questions about the video or comments about it, and you put them underneath the video on YouTube, it helps to draw more people to it. So it's something that we can all do that brings us more people. And we're growing organically these days through relationships with people like you and through influencers like Dr. Klinghart. And you know, we'll continue to do that. So we're going to get in front of a lot more people. And this project's just going to keep growing. We're really thankful for you being here and being part of our community, and that we have the privilege of doing this work and doing it with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And, yeah, we'll see you guys. See you guys next time. Thanks for being here today. I am forever forgetting how to unmute everybody. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves and say goodbye, please go
Thank you,
right
Pat.
ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Nico.
All right, bye, you guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.